So you're a father. What do you want to say about fatherhood?
Yeah, I want to say that fathers play a very important role in the family, especially in their children's lives. The fathers are pillars of strength, support, and joy for the children. And seeing your children grow from, birth to becoming young adults and the different stages that they go through, and being a part of that as they move from stage to stage and providing guidance and support along the way, and just seeing them be the best that they can be. So there's no more joy to me than being a father.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about fatherhood. I'm Donna,
And I'm Will.
and this is Journey with Donna and Will.
Yeah, but for me, I've had many things that I admired about particular men as fathers, and things that didn't necessarily admire. So, but I learned from all of them, from even your dad to the way he interacted with you and your siblings and your moms. I definitely learned as a young man coming into your family quite a bit, as well as again learned quite a bit from my father, and also in addition my brothers. We got two older brothers and two younger brothers. Each of them are great fathers in their own rights. Black fathers actually are more involved than most in their families. I mean, this is based on, anecdotal evidence from things I personally observed, but in addition, there's a CDC report that's out that
Right,
actually
absolutely.
took a analytical look at it. 2.5 million out of about 4 million do live with their kids.
Absolutely.
In addition, black dads, whether they live with their children or not, are more actively involved with their children than their counterparts. Black dads are more likely to be involved with taking care of the children in terms of taking them to activities, bathing them, reading to them, those types of things. But I'm here to tell you,
I'm here to attest.
black dads
You read
are,
to them when they were little. Took them. Was their soccer coach. Took them to. Well, you brought them home. I took them to school. You brought them home from school. So I will attest to excellent father over here.
thank you.
Fatherhood then, let's say between the 1600s and the 1800s in America, unfortunately, the enslaved were not in a family unit a lot of times. Even coming from Africa, families were separated.
Definitely disruptive. The fathers really had no power in their own families. They weren't the key provider, protector, and so forth that fathers are looked at today. So yeah, fathers basically were relegated to just labor.
Yes, they didn't allow blacks to read or write or to get married. There were a lot of components that enslavers used to put down African Americans during that time period. Even though the circumstances they were put under, they still continued to try and hold together that family structure.
The families would pass on life lessons of how to treat one another, how to be loyal, also genealogy information about previous generations so that the next generations wouldn't forget.
Kind of like in Roots.
Yeah, they wouldn't forget the family history, and so they could just take pride in the information that they did know, so they can pass along for that one day when they would be free.
The emancipation happened. Black fathers looked for their children that they were separated from, and the church was a major part of that. The church had a dress, so a lot of times, even though they didn't know how to read or write, they could get letters, and they needed a place to send those letters to, and oftentimes it was the church. The church had an address, and they would allow for mail to come and communicate in an effort to find lost family members.
Yeah, in addition to that, the church played an important role in terms of developing leadership skills, whether it was a black man was a pastor or a deacon, or so that institution of the church allowed black men in particular to be leaders in the community and develop skills they wouldn't otherwise be allowed to.
You see a lot of black males as overcomers.
A person who overcomes opposition, obstacles, resistance.
I had a great grandfather, Frank Thomas. He was born in 1868. He had an amputated limb, but that did not stop him from working. He was a business owner. He owned a shoemaking store, and he was able to send his child to college.
In Tennessee, Pulaski, Tennessee, Mac Reynolds, he raised his family on quite a few acres, what's now known as the Negro Hollow there. He had overcome quite a bit. He was a laborer there with the Mars family on the property there. He was also a pastor, educated himself, and he was a leader in the community.
Fatherhood during the 1920s to 1960s. During the Great Migration, fathers moved their families from the South to the North.
During the Great Depression in 1930s, the loss of being the provider, many fathers withdrew from families physically and psychologically.
In the 1940s, during World War II, job opportunities increased and many African Americans moved out west.
In the 1950s, fathers were mainly the breadwinners and laid down the family household laws.
During the 1960s, family life was sometimes rebellious and colorful as the generation gap widened.
Our grandfathers were during this time. George Washington Belton, Leo Fair, and William A. Edwards all passed away before we were born.
My grandfather, Roy Kahn Sr., who I was blessed to grow up with in Pittsburgh, he lived about a block away. I mean, he would actually have us working for him at his house. We would do everything from cutting weeds with a hand sickle to painting his house to just cleaning, and we worked from sun up to sundown.
So he was a type of father figure too.
He absolutely was. I learned quite a bit from my grandfather. I mean, he would encourage you as you worked. He would tell you were doing a good job, even though you may not have been doing a good job, but it was encouraging. And it motivated me to do the best that I could at whatever job I was assigned to do. And my father, he was a junior, Roy Kahn Jr. He loved music. He also had an impact on me, the way he took care of his mother, actually be there every day to see if she needed anything, as well as his father. That he would go grocery shopping for them, take them to doctor's appointments, just making sure that they were taken care of.
My dad, I learned so much from him. He was always present. He knew how to communicate well with all of his children. I just remember the time when I was not doing well in math. I was afraid to tell him that, but the way he approached me is he told me, when he grew up, he wasn't able to learn math and that I needed to teach him math. So I made it my point to teach him how to do today's math, as he would say. And my grades improved. That was just his style of, making you feel comfortable and also resolving a problem. I love my dad very much. And I also remember being, driving with him and just all the wisdom that he would talk to me about, about life, hard work, education, relationships. I could talk to my dad about anything. And I think that's the importance of fathers, just being there to communicate with and learning from, and just all the love that you feel from them. My father was able to walk me down the aisle and also marry us.
Yeah, perform the wedding ceremony.
That was wonderful. I want to break in the song Dance with My Father again, but I will hold off. Okay, so we're going to do some Dads Be Like. My dad would always say you have to work twice as hard.
My dad would always say, don't take any wooden nickels. It meant be careful who you trust.
Don't lie to yourself. I think that's important. A lot of times people tell themselves something that might not be true, so they don't work on it. He would always say, when I was young, this happened. To be honest with you, I love those stories that my dad used to tell me, like how he grew up.
Do like I tell you, not like I do. So He would ask me to do something for him, and he would say, "Do this for me, and I'll dance at your wedding."
Okay. And he did.
And
You and your mom
ultimately, he did. Absolutely. So if you have any dadisms or dads be like, just put your comments in the box below. Subscribe, share, and like.
So I'm Donna,
And I'm Will.
and this has been Journey with Donna and Will. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.